Jacob begins his story as a terrified fugitive, sprinting through a harsh desert to escape his brother's blade. He is far removed from the image of the steady, confident patriarch. Genesis 27 records a family-fracturing betrayal. Jacob manipulated his father for the primary blessing, driving Esau to vow murder. The theft cost him everything. He fled into the wilderness stripped of wealth, separated from his mother, and thrust into total isolation. He arrives in Haran as a hyper-vigilant survivor. He is carrying the massive, invisible weight of a month spent in constant flight. He eventually reaches the land of the people of the East. He is searching for his mother's family, his only connection to a safe home. In the middle of an open field, he finds a well. In the ancient world, these locations were the town squares, the vital hubs where every regional traveler eventually converged. Access to the water is blocked. A massive, heavy stone completely covers the mouth of the well, keeping the water sealed beneath. 3 flocks of sheep are already gathered, but the local shepherds are content to wait. They tell Jacob they refuse to move the stone until every regional flock has arrived. Jacob's internal urgency hits a wall of indifference. A man in survival mode, desperate for movement, while the shepherds just wait. While he is still debating with the locals, Rachel arrives at the well with her father's sheep. Jacob immediately recognizes her as the daughter of Laban. That name represents his safety, the blood connection that proves he has finally finished his flight. Jacob abruptly breaks off the conversation with the locals. He steps forcefully toward the massive obstacle covering the well. In a startling moment from Genesis 29, Jacob rolls the massive stone away from the well's mouth entirely by himself. This graphic compares the typical weight of these stones, often hundreds of pounds, to the lifting capacity of a single human. Shifting a rock of this size usually required a collective team of grown men. Jacob is undergoing a massive, involuntary adrenaline dump. This is the biological response of a nervous system pushed to the brink, triggered by the sudden arrival of security. Moving the physical stone is the external manifestation of Jacob finally shattering his psychological isolation. With the path cleared, Jacob waters Laban's flock, providing an immediate service to Rachel's family. Jacob then kisses Rachel and begins to weep openly in front of the assembled shepherds. These tears represent a total systemic breakdown. The sudden influx of relief has finally overwhelmed a nervous system saturated by weeks of terror and exhaustion. This is the moment the accumulated tension of his month spent in exile finally releases. The emotional intensity of this encounter is anchored in the absolute despair that immediately preceded it. Rachel runs to tell her father what happened, and Jacob is welcomed into a safe household. After Jacob has been with the family for a month, Laban demands to know what his wages should be for his continued labor. Jacob makes an unprecedented proposal. He offers to work for 7 full years for the right to marry Rachel. Standard marriage practices of the era involved a modest bride price. Jacob's offer of 7 years of indentured servitude is an exorbitant rate that fundamentally shifts his baseline logic. He is paying this price to anchor himself to the human connection that rescued his sanity. This commitment raises a psychological question. How can a man endure nearly a decade of labor without succumbing to deep resentment? The book of Genesis provides the answer. It notes that the 7 years seemed to Jacob but a few days because of his love for Rachel. This timeline represents a distortion of perception. When extreme relief follows survival, that moment of rescue becomes a psychological anchor. The memory of the well was so powerful, it collapsed the perceived weight of years into days. Jacob's ordeal suggests that total despair can create the conditions where a single moment of grace becomes an armor strong enough to bend time itself.